we have with us Dr. G. Padmanabhan, fondly known as GP Sir. He is a well-known Indian scientist who has been honored with the Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan awards by the Government of India. He is the former director of Indian Institute of Science and currently serves as the honorary professor at the Department of Biochemistry at IISc. His path-breaking research on malaria has helped in development of many drugs for the dangerous disease. He completed his PhD from IISc and also has been visiting faculty at the University of Chicago. Professor Padmanabhan Sir is a lover of Carnatic music and is a very good singer himself. He is deeply interested in philosophical teachings and of ancient masters such as Adi Shankaracharya. Sir, it's truly an honor to have you among us. Sir will be taking us through the topic Science and Spirituality. It shall be an interactive session with Sir Chandrasekhar Sir of DP of Bangalore West.
Offering my humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Swami. It is indeed an honor and pleasure to interact with Professor Padmanabhan. We did a similar session, I think 2 weeks ago at Bangalore West District Summer Course. And students absolutely loved it. So we are kind of doing it again for all of you here. Let me set a context why we are doing this, what we are trying to do here. As you would have heard in the introduction, Professor Padmanabhan is a man of many great achievements. Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, former director of IISc. He was awarded the Most Distinguished Scientist Award, I think Bhatnagar Award as well, Most Distinguished Indian Scientist. So our attempt today will be twofold. One is to know him as a person. He will come amongst you, he will talk to you, answer your questions, doubt. So know him as a person so that you can see him as a role model. That's one attempt. The second attempt, of course, is to, if possible, many of us, including myself at our young age, we think we should be very scientific and all this spirituality is wishy-washy, it's for weak minds. That kind of a thought will be there. I want pure scientific proof of everything. Science is the right thing to pursue. So today the attempt will be to make sure that science and spirituality are not competing with each other. Swami used to say, spirituality begins where science ends. And we have the pleasure of having a spiritual scientist amongst us. Thank you, sir, for being with us. I will take one more moment before we start the interactive session. We will start right from his childhood, what were his challenges, so that we can relate to his challenges in life, how he grew up, what happened, and then how spirituality is playing a vital role in his life. Briefly about how I know Sir, I knew late Mr. Ramchandran, his brother, elder brother, as a member of Malleshwaram Samiti. Another great person like him, he was the Secretary Agriculture Ministry at Delhi. Again, extremely spiritual man, very devoted to Swami. In fact, he told me once, I think the cabinet minister, agriculture minister was Bhutta Singh or someone. I believe he had told them on 2 days a week, evening 6 to 7 is my bhajan time. I will come and work full night, but that 1.5 hours I have to go out. So he had that conviction in spirituality to tell a cabinet minister that spirituality and my path is important to me. So we definitely want to know what kind of family it was, what made these values, and we'll learn about Sir's life and his spiritual views. So sir, if you could take us through a little bit of your beginning and how did you aspire to be a scientist or biologist to begin with? That would be very encouraging, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's a great privilege and honor for me to have been invited and talk to you. Um, Actually, my brother Ramachandran, who Mr. Savani mentioned in Delhi, and then he settled in Bangalore. He's a great devotee of Sai Baba, Sathya Sai. And I picked a few things from him. There is no comparison at all. But because of him, I have developed this, devotion. So, to answer your question, I was a student of Ramakrishna Mission in Chennai. And I did my BSc at Presidency College. Then I went to Delhi and did my master's. Then came to Indian Institute of Science in 1961. Ever since I'm stuck there, I did my PhD. Then I became a faculty. It was somewhat of a surprise because I had not gone abroad after my PhD, and the Institute of Science doesn't appoint anybody without training in the US. But Professor Satish Dhawan was the director, and he said he has done so well in India, now why do you expect him? He can go to US afterwards. So that's how I was appointed as an assistant professor. Of course, then I rose in the ranks. I went to the University of Chicago in 1973 as a Fulbright scholar for 1 year. At the end of the year, I was coming back, and my mentor there was one Murray Rabinovich, and said, "Why are you going back to India? What will you do there? Nothing is there." I said, "No, sir, I want to build my lab." Probably I was the only one addressing him as sir. In the US, everybody calls by first name. So he was very generous. He let me come back and said, "You come to my lab anytime for any length of time." I took the offer very literally. I went to University of Chicago 10 times, 73 to 86. I learned all the techniques. I am a molecular biologist. I work in the field of genetic engineering. So, of course, I applied to malaria parasite. We want to discover new drugs for malaria parasite because bugs are smarter than scientists. You develop a drug, maybe it will work for 5 years. If you are lucky, it will work for 10 years. It will become resistant. So you have to develop a new drug. So this process of change happens, and malaria parasite is one of the earliest. It has evolved with man. One of the earliest parasites known to mankind, actually. So that is in brief, I should say, my career, and I have produced 50 plus PhDs, mentors, a lot of people. One thing I am proud about is I haven't lost my balance. I take it as a compliment when people meet me and say, "BJP have not changed one bit. You got this award, you became director, nothing has changed, you are the same person." So that is a big compliment, in life, to be what you are, that is all you are an instrument, God has given you something, gave you an opportunity, and there are much better people, probably more equipped than you, but it is your luck, it is your choice, it is your grace that God has given you, and you have done that. And that's my career in brief.
Thank you, sir. So, one more thing, we talk of role models today. Most of the times for young minds, the role models that are available today are either a cricketer, a movie star, on the worst side, politicians. who seem to be famous, money-making. One day you see them bright and shining, next day some scam or scandal comes about them. Here we want to present to you, sir, who has silently and quietly been working for more than 6 decades behind a problem like malaria. So, sir, if you could just tell us again about this, what was your inspiration? I think you had shared it last time, one professor, how you got inspired to be a scientist. So that would be very nice for students to listen.
My role model was initially Dr. Govindachari at Presidency College, Madras, a great organic chemist. He became director, then became director of SIBA. No, we students at BSc level used to be chatting along the corridor, and whenever we cross his room, everybody will keep quiet. And we will see some people wearing white coat, and that was something I thought I should also wear a white coat. That was the kind of inspiration to do science. We know they were doing research in organic chemistry. Of course, I chose biochemistry, then molecular biology. Then it evolved in many things, genetic engineering, gene transfer. Many of the students would have heard about DNA. It had got 4 letters, ATGC. Scientists, we believe that DNA is responsible for all life processes. It has 4 letters, 2 purines and 2 pyrimidines. To simply 3 billion, 3 times 10 to the 9 times it is present in the human. Every cell has it. And it codes for information for all proteins, hemoglobin, for example, you would have heard. You would have heard about insulin. You have heard about growth hormone, so many proteins. It has information for all these. And that is the one that drives, scientists think, that is the one that drives all your life processes. Who created DNA? We have no answer. Why it should be DNA? Of course, we know why it is DNA. I will not get into the science part. But, what has led me to think all this we do, there is an above power which directs you towards all this. It is not as if, you have invented something. We are all standing on the shoulders of other people who contributed even more than what we have done, actually. But it is an opportunity given by God. And, once I saw that I wanted to become a scientist, I was very steadfast. I got my PhD, etc. So I got many offers. I could have become director of AstraZeneca. I was offered. I was offered to become director of International Center for Genetic Engineering in Delhi. I said I'm very happy at the institute. It was literally so. I was a professor, and AstraZeneca came to India, and then I helped them to set up a research lab. So many of you see I should drive to the new airport. AstraZeneca building still there. They left India after 25 years. I don't know why. Of course, they said it's a global decision. We are leaving this place, actually. But science has continued. I'm 85. I'm 86. The one advantage being a scientist, you never retire. That is something, 65 or 60 in my time, formally retired. But Indian Institute of Science, I should tell you, is a very unique place. The director wrote to me saying, you use your lab, use your office as long as you're alive. I don't think any other institution we have that magnitude to let people continue. So it keeps me busy. So I just thrice a week I think I go there. Yes.
So one interesting thing, will not talk about his age. I will tell his age at the end of this session. But we really want to know, one thing I have noticed in Sir, normally I meet, we happen to stay in the same place. So at sharp 6:30, he goes for his morning walk. So if I want to meet him, I have to be there at 6:30. So normally that is where we meet. Sir, please, we want to understand at this age, and for so long you must have been doing this, that discipline to do the right thing every day. What drives you?
I somehow feel, discipline is enormously important in life. Whatever discipline you follow, you stick to it. If you have become a big man, then you can do whatever you like. That's not the case. Whatever is your position, whatever is your qualification. So like 6:30 is I am very particular that I go for a walk at 6:30. In fact, my wife will joke. He will be waiting, 6:29 is ready, but he will be waiting for it to show 6:30 before he goes for a walk. Somehow, that has come into my mind, to stick to my, whatever I have committed, I had to do. Whatever, whether it's a loss or a gain, I haven't touched money in my life. Honestly, I have not been to a shop in my life. Everything you have to be extremely fortunate to have a family. My wife does everything, actually. And anybody comes and asks for me, you're talking about money. He doesn't know anything. You talk to me, she will say. So that, I've been extremely fortunate. That way, life has been very kind to me. So I can do science. I think I told you last time, probably. I would have left the house before my children got up. When I come back home from the lab, children would have gone to bed. So I don't know how many years I spent like that in the lab. Don't ask me what great discoveries you made. I may not have made anything. That is a different thing. But, many students, that is a lot of them are in the United States. I keep telling them, why don't you come back? Some of them come back. Some of them have great positions and so on. But in fact, I must tell you, Bharat has every opportunity these days. There is no big attraction to go to US, etc. Go there, learn, come back. This is my advice to young people, actually. That is, I won't say you should not go back. World is much larger than what we know. So many things to learn. So many things which you don't want to learn. You should be exposed to everything. But then, I somehow feel this country needs. It's a soil, it's a poor country. There's a saying, it's a poor country of rich people. We have very great people in this country, but still we are poor. We have poverty in this country. We have so many things to handle. So these motivate me, honestly, without exaggeration, these things motivate me. If I train some students, mentoring is a very, very important task. Sometimes technical, sometimes personal. Young people at that age have all kinds of issues, problems. So once they develop confidence in you, they will come to you. Sir, I have done this. I don't know whether I am right. Can you tell me what I should do? Then I tell him, I can't, I can only listen to you. Very interesting. You listen to people's problems, you have solved 50% of the problem. As director of the Institute of Science, this is something, my office used to tell me, you are keeping an open house. You can't run an institution like that. At least have some scheduled timing so that people will come only on that time. Otherwise, people will keep walking into your room all the time. But, that is, listen to people. I have this great habit. I don't talk much. Given an opportunity, I am talking. Otherwise, I am a listener. I listen a lot. And you learn a lot. That's how life goes on.
Thank you, sir. Quite a few interesting things that sir said, particularly about listening. I know the change happened in 94. I was a student there at IISc. So like he described, earlier director Professor CNR Rao was a totally different personality, and when he took over, it was a sea change. I mean, he only appointed him, as Sir says. But interestingly, I feel that is the hallmark of greatness, the simplicity. He had absolute open doors. Anybody could walk in to his office, talk to him. So that is what made GP Sir very popular all along. So I have a few friends who are his ex-students also. So it has been they all remember him, they come meet him. So that is what is driving him. A few more questions, sir. Now coming to today's topic of spirituality. Because most of the times, like I said earlier, people think science and spirituality, they can't go hand in hand. You should be a scientist and all this is not right. So any thoughts? You have been a spiritual person, you have been a bhajan singer, all followers of Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta.
Right,
So,
I have not read much, I must tell you, but I have this habit. I will read 10 slokas of Bhagavad Gita every day before I go to bed. I finish the 18 chapters and again start again. I don't know how many decades I am doing it, but I have understood, but I have not understood. You know, it is something, but it does make you a very balanced person. Spirituality, you know, it's not just following a religion, not even God. You know, if you are a spiritual person, you are a very balanced person. You speak only truth. You know, this is a definition of, I have, you know, any devotion I have developed is from Ramchandran. My brother, you know, he was a very staunch devotee of Sathya Sai. So I used to attend bhajans in his house. He was so, you know, deeply devoted to Sathya Sai Baba. So these are, you know, elements. Ramakrishna Mission School, I told you. In my time, you know, we used to have a special 1 hour on Hinduism, on Sanatan Dharma. You know, all that Ramakrishna Mission must have changed. The schools must have changed now. But in my time, we used to have, we were exposed to all that. And I developed this staunch feeling of attachment, trying to understand Advaitam. I know the only book I have read, you know, many of you may know, there is a book called Atma Tirtham, which is written by one Nechur Venkatraman. You know, he himself has become a saint now. If you read that book, it describes the story of Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara. There are so many versions of Adi Shankara's development. But this one really is, in the background of Adi Shankara, it will give some sort of Vedas, it will give and try to interpret. Upanishads, it will try to interpret. Very difficult to understand. That's why I keep reading many times, you know, the chapters, whether I am able to understand this one. But, you know, this is something which makes you a very balanced person. Whoever you are devoted to, it doesn't, in my opinion, it is immaterial, in my opinion. But you should be honest in your feelings, you should be honest in your devotion. And then we are not, world has not, it's not because of you. You happen to be here, you have been an instrument, you have an opportunity, you became a scientist. Somebody else becomes something else, and then it's all an opportunity, it's all God-given. You may call it God, you may not call it God, it doesn't matter. But it is something which, you are fortunate, As I said, my family, highly supportive family. If I don't go, if I keep claiming I haven't been to a shop, I haven't bought anything, I don't know anything, I haven't handled money, how is it possible? It's all, there is a grace somewhere. It's God's grace. God's grace comes through several. To my mind, Adi Shankara is the greatest intellectual in this world. If you read his history and the verses he talks about, and the answers he gives to his own disciples, maybe some other time I should expand on that, but phenomenal, I have learnt a lot.
Just to reconnect back the dots, your research on malaria, you had cited quite a few stories. While doing the research, biology, I think at the end of it, you also mentioned DNA, who really created, and so on and so forth. So, any experiences wherein you got those intuitions from somewhere, particularly during research?
See, I was first 20 years in my research career, I was trying to answer basic questions. I told you about the DNA, about the gene, and how the gene is expressed, all that in the animal model. At some point of time, I told you AstraZeneca came to India. And they came to me to help them, and I gave them 4 projects. You work on malaria, you work on tuberculosis, you work on a disease called cysticercosis, you work on diarrheal diseases. And they started working. Then I felt, what am I doing? It's easy to be an advisor. Why don't you become yourself, take one of these subjects? That's why I took up malaria. I thought, let me just start malaria research. All the knowledge. The parasite is as intelligent as we are. It also has a DNA. So I said, all my knowledge I can apply to that. Because parasite is smarter. As I told you in the beginning, you develop a drug. The best known drug was chloroquine. Many of you would know to treat malaria. Chloroquine doesn't work. Then came this drug artemisinin, which is still used, but resistance has developed. It is spreading in India now. So the challenge is, can you get a new drug? The research goes on only from that perspective. Can I get a new drug? There is no vaccine for malaria. You can't develop a vaccine. There are many reasons why you can't develop a vaccine for... people have been still trying. There is no vaccine for TB. No vaccine for HIV. And vaccine, there are people who think vaccine, against vaccine and all that. But vaccine, for example, in COVID time, all of us took at least 2 different co-vaccine, Covishield. Vaccines have saved millions and millions of people. If you, from evolution, if you look how many diseases, infectious diseases we have had. And we were all protected because of the development of vaccine. And there is a history of how vaccines were developed. In India, of course, we never recognize what happened in India. Of course, we talk about Jenner. I'll come to Jenner. But before that, apparently in the Ganges, Ganga's, outside Ganga, there used to be Brahmins who will take people who are cured of smallpox. And the thing is drying. They will press that and take out whatever fluid that comes out of it and then inject it to another person. The concept of vaccine, that means the parasite is dead now, but they have this scar and then use that as a vaccine. And it will protect. 80% were protected, 20% died. Of course, people don't talk much about it. They talk about Jenner, who found we all had smallpox. But the women who carry milk on their head, they were not developing smallpox. Then they found they are milking the cow. And he found ultimately The cow has a pox. There's a thing called as cowpox. So they were infected with cowpox, but cowpox cannot produce the human disease. But cowpox will protect.
Cowpox would protect
will
smallpox.
protect against smallpox. That is how the concept of vaccine developed. And so many vaccines were developed. Finally, everybody knows about COVID at least. There are 2 vaccines which we were all taking. The concept of vaccine is from that period onwards. So many diseases, but as I said, people are researching to see, can we get a vaccine for TB, tuberculosis? Can we get a vaccine for HIV? No. Can we get a vaccine for malaria? Where do you know? Still no vaccines are available. Only drugs are available, not vaccines.
Interesting, sir. As you would have heard, people like AstraZeneca tried offering him. But I think, as he said, he never deals with money. Very interesting, because we see role models who are just chasing money. We call someone a big person if he has more money. But here, sir, what really drives you? It's definitely not money. At this age, you go to your lab. What feeling drives you to go there?
No, science drives me. I believe in it. But I don't think, science and spirituality, there is any contradiction. In fact, science is the one that gives the basis for spirituality. Where they're wrong, if you read literature, if you go to that, they will say, oh, why are you praying this idol? Why are you... No, it's not true. I mean, there may be few half-baked scientists who may think like that. But generally, most scientists I know of, which are rounded people, believe, we do science because God has given this opportunity. If you are not there, somebody else would have done it. It is just an opportunity that grace has given us. But science drives me. You want to discover something new, something you have to find a solution. Because science, one of the problems with today's science, you have to publish papers in international journals. There are big journals, what are called Nature, Science. You publish papers and become, if promotion is needed and all that. But that cannot be the only objective. Of course, you need that. But can you apply a small portion of the science which you are doing for the welfare of the society? That has to be at the back of every scientist. All of the discoveries we make may not have relevance. This is all basic research, so-called. But there is a component which will be applicable. For example, in malaria, parasite, we studied a lot about its biology and all that. But it has led us to find out a new drug. Interestingly, many of you may be surprised to know, turmeric has a molecule called curcumin. It is a very good anti-malarial. And it can be used for treating many diseases. Curcumin can be used for treating many diseases. But people don't believe, oh, this is all turmeric, it's all there, bunkum. It's not true. So we spent a lot of time, we published papers, proved to the world that curcumin is a very good anti-malarial. Not only anti-malarial, it can cure many diseases. In fact, a company in Hyderabad, it's called Genomics. The company has made capsules of basically turmeric and peppermint. And I've used it, 200,000 capsules they have distributed to protect against COVID in Hyderabad. And Giri Polavarapu, he is the director of that company. He's actually an NRI. And he believes his whole company is based on turmeric. And he says, I will create a center called the GP Center for Turmeric, something like that. I said, you do whatever you like, so long as you do useful research. So, but like that, there are very many natural molecules in nature. You don't have to have synthetic new molecules. I don't say you don't have to have, but there are natural molecules which work. But you should have faith. Maybe they are slow, but they will not, many of them will not have side effects. So there is a lot of opportunity we have, young people are here. So, to do research with natural molecules.
One more topic which could be of interest to our listeners is your association with Swami and how you interact.
I have met, Swami gave me the opportunity or the grace to meet me 3 times in my life. I told you, my brother was a staunch devotee. And so I went to Puttaparthi, and first time, some of you may know, there was one Professor Pappu at the Indian Institute of Science in electrical engineering department. And one day he knew I have this background. Come along with me, I am going to meet Swami. He had a lot of access to Swami at that time. And he took another 8 or 10 people with us. First time he went to Puttaparthi and Swami gave us the audience. We sat in front of him and he asked each one of us, what are you doing? Of course, he spoke in Telugu, in between he will use English words. And then asked us, what are you doing? I told him what am I doing at that point of time. Then he said, people tell I don't believe in science. It's not true. You should all do science. But when you teach science to your students, introduce some spirituality, he said. That is all I am expecting all of you to do. You can do your science, do science which is useful to society. But you teach your students all the science, etc. Tell them about spirituality. Tell them about God. Tell them about something above us which is directing everything. That was one first opportunity I got. Second time, I think I met him in Whitefield when he had come to Whitefield, Swami has come. It was amazing. I was, everybody said, go, Swami, I want audience. I said, I don't want any interview with Swami. I'm only looking for his grace. If if Swami walks through and I have his darshan, that is enough for me. And Swami walked through. I was in the 4th row. But he identified me because he had seen me earlier. And he said, Enga vandadu, in Tamil. No? Yes, he said, Enga vandadu. That means, where did you come? Or why did you come? What for you are here? Something like that. I said, I came just for your darshan. Then he just blessed and went. Everybody said, Swami will give you an interview. Go, 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 go. I said, I don't want any interview. I want just his grace. And he has seen me, I was sitting in the 4th row. He identified me. There was something I cannot even imagine. Then one more time I met him in Puttaparthi, where he gave us an audience along with many people. There he found many scientists sitting there actually. Don't think with science you can solve all problems of the world. You have humility in you. He advised us, many of us. That was in a more general audience, larger number was there. So 3 times I met him. And my pride is he could identify me every time. That was,
Yes, he had that, absolutely.
Yeah.
One more thing. You love Carnatic music.
Yes,
So what is the secret to how the passion came?
No, my father is a very good singer. Of course, he joined Burma Shell and he could never become a professional, but very good singer. So I think I inherited something. My son, Shiva, sings better than me. And classical Carnatic music. I learned for 14 years. But I don't think it helped me a lot, in terms of competence. But I learned a lot of Carnatic music. It is there ingrained in us, in our family. My daughter is here, Leela. She is another, she learned Carnatic. All of us, in all our families, everybody will go through, whether you can sing or not, you have to learn music. And this is all older families, So we went through a lot. I learned more because my brother and sister were being taught. So I used to hear and then learn. Then I started myself learning. I started learning also after I became assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Science. I had a teacher right in front of my house. He was an accounts officer in DRDO. But he was a very good knowledge of Carnatic music. So he used to walk over and teach me. So it's nice, yeah.
So, just like last time, maybe the same bhajan or a bhajan for the audience. They would love to hear.
Yeah, I love to sing, but I don't know how good it will be, but I just sing a Carnatic song, Yemaya Rama Brahmendra Dulagunaina Nimaya Teliya Vachamaya Shri Rama Yemaya Rama Brahmendra Dulagunaina Nimayateliya Vachamaya Kamari Vinuta Gunadama Kuvalayadala Kamari Vinuta Gunadama Kuvalayadala Kamananutana Tanri Shirama Kamananutana Tanri Shirama Yemaya Rama Brahmendra Dulagunaina Nimayateliya Vachamaya Narudanusu Narulodama Dorabanusu Yadamulu Varudanusu Gopa Satulu Karivarada Bhadradri Puranilaya Ramadasa Karivarada Bhadradri Puranilaya Ramadasa Paramatmudalinannu Bhavim Palereiri Yemaya Rama Brahmendra Dulagunaina Nimayateliya Vachamaya.
Thank you, sir. Really, sir, absolutely moving. And like I promised, this man is 86-year-old. And when I asked him, sir, will you come once again? We want to do it for a new set of students. The only word he said is, yes, anything for students. That is what drives him even today, to help others. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Really.